The title for this Sunday is This is Joy. And you can't give a gift like you've just given the choir, our dancers, Megan singing, Sharon, without being filled with joy. Because true joy that Pam was talking about this morning is the joy that comes from the wellspring within us that knows we're created in the image and likeness of love, of good, of joy, of creativity, of God, of all of that. And when we feel that, what comes out is power, creativity, love, harmony, wholeness, oneness, goodness, and it overflows. When we've activated that within us, we exude joy, simply being in the presence of someone who's activated that power, in touch with that power within them. So this morning we want to talk, first of all, I love again, divine timing, The Wizard of Oz. Some say it's a commentary on the difficulty of the political, economic, and social times in the 1900. Others talk about the spiritual journey that Dorothy took after a cyclone hit her life. After the breakdown of the life as she knew it, she had the opportunity to follow that spiritual path and everything it had to offer, the witches and the monkeys and the friends, to lead her to the place of knowing that everything she was looking for, she already had. And that's what we want to talk about this morning, is the joy that we're looking for is not a joy that we find somewhere over the rainbow out there. Yeah, we can have joy and happiness from sensory pleasures now and then, but those are very fickle. The joy we're looking for is the joy that comes from deep within us, that is fueled by love, that is powered by spirit, that never, ever, ever leaves us. Yes, we can hide it, we can stuff it down, but it never leaves us. It's always there. And if you look on our wall here, every one of those beautiful beings, those spiritual giants whose shoulders we stand upon, all of them had cyclones, breakdown, difficulties in their life, things that would shake anyone else wherever, but they had the spiritual power to find the goodness, the joy, and the love no matter what. I want to talk about the Dalai Lama for a minute. He wrote a book called The Art of Happiness because he said that the purpose of life is to be happy. Ernest Holmes, our founder, says, I believe in a religion of happiness and joy. Now, it's not that fickle happiness and joy I'm talking about. It's that wellspring, that fountain within us that stems from love and oneness and possibility and creativity. The Dalai Lama, he's the 14th Dalai Lama. The Dalai Lamas are the manifestations of compassion. And he was identified as the successor to the 13th Dalai Lama when he was 2. They could recognize that wellspring of joy within him at that age, of the kindness and compassion. And then at 16 years old in 1950, he took over as head of state of Tibet. He was not only a spiritual leader, but the head of state at 16. And only 9 years later, in 1959, when the Chinese military occupied Tibet, he had to exile to India. And he's still there today in exile. But how many of you have heard the Dalai Lama or been in his presence? He giggles all the time. Here's a man who had all of this responsibility, and we can get things taken away from us, yet he had his country taken away from him, and he had to take his people. He's still the spiritual leader of the Tibetan people, and yet he can find a place within him where he stands on peace. He teaches peace. He teaches reverence for all life. He has a nonviolent opposition to the Chinese military that's still in Tibet. Nonviolent. He also has something called universal responsibility, where he goes and he works with interfaith people to come together, to talk, to communicate, to listen, to hear. But he says the responsibility is on each person. Each one of us needs to have that responsibility to find that joy within us, that place that is unaltered by the things around us. Now, there's two sides of this joy, of course, and Khalil Gibran talks about it. He Khalil Gibran is the author of The Prophet. And do you know that Khalil Gibran is the third best-selling poet in the whole world? And his famous book is The Prophet. Actually, this book was one Kirk and I used when we were married a long time ago. I actually found a little flower from our wedding in it when I opened it. But he talks about, he's asked, speak to us of joy and sorrow. And he says, your sorrow is your joy unmasked. You see, if we look at the human condition, I think what the problem is, the human condition keeps repeating itself. Would you agree with that? Just keeps repeating itself, the sorrow, the violence, the inhumanity to man. We keep repeating the same old stuff over and over again. But if we could realize that that sorrow, that pain, that hurt is a messenger and a portal for something greater, we can change it and turn it and flip it. There is natural pain in the world we live in. That's part of our learning and our experience, the gift of being human. Yet we decide what we're going to do with that pain. And if it becomes a portal to break us open to something new, a new responsibility. The Dalai Lama took on the responsibility not just of his own Tibetan people, but with this cyclone in his life, he went to being a major spokesperson in the world for peace and love and oneness and listening and cooperation. And that's the call to us. So Khalil Gibran says, your joy is your sorrow, unmasked. The self-same well from which your laughter arises was oftentimes filled with your tears. And how else can it be? The deeper the sorrow carves into your being, the more joy you can contain. I'd like to just say, it's not the deeper the sorrow, but the deeper you allow yourself to feel the pain, to feel the sorrow, to feel the hurt this life gives us so often. The deeper you allow yourself to feel it, it's there for all of us. The more deeply you can feel the joy and the love that's always present. He goes on to say, is not the cup that holds your wine the very cup that was burned in your potter's oven? Is not the lute that soothes your spirit the very wood that was hollowed with knives? When you are joyous, look deep into your heart, and you shall find it is only that which has given you sorrow is bringing you joy. When you are sorrowful, look again in your heart, and you'll see the truth, that you are weeping for that which has given you much delight. Some of you say joy is greater than sorrow, and others say, nah, sorrow is greater than joy. But I say to you, they are inseparable. Together they come, and when one sits alone at your table, remember that the other is asleep in your bed. Meaning that this human life, it has pain, it has sorrow, it has love, it has joy. But inside of each one of us, there's a place of deep contentment and clarity of mind if we allow it. The Dalai Lama says, he really talks about two different spiritualities. There's religious spirituality that can enhance people's life and make people live good lives, but it can also cause a lot of division and separation. And then there's basic spirituality, which is goodness, compassion, kindness, and love. We get to choose which spirituality that we really activate in our life. And he goes on to say there are ways that we really activate that goodness in our life. Takes education, practice, and discipline. It's Ernest Holmes who says, practice, teach, practice, practice, teach. That's all we really have, that's all we really are, and that's all we should ever do. We need to live by example. Do you agree? Right now in the world at this time, we need to live by example. There's no choice other than that, because whatever we do, we are setting an example for the people around us and the generations to come. So how we choose to deal with these portals in our life that seem so catastrophic, we get to be the example. We get to share the love. How do we do this? First and foremost, we have to discipline our minds. We have to discipline our minds to look for what's right and good and true. How many of you believe that life is inherently good? We better all raise our hand, because that's a tenet we stand on right here at this center. Life is inherently good. And if we truly believe that, then we can really stand wherever we are and say, no matter what I'm feeling right now, whether I'm broken apart which is part of this sad joy experience, or I'm standing in the light, shining my light, exuding joy, life is inherently good. And we get to that place by developing inner contentment. How many of you feel really inner content right now? Good, you've been working hard. I've been trying. It's a little tough, but that inner contentment comes when we can calm our minds, when we can step away from the comparing mind. Step away from the comparing mind. Step away from the comparing mind and realize we need to appreciate what we have. We need to calm our minds and appreciate what we have and realize, again, that divine timing that I've been talking about, we're in a cycle of divine timing. And it's our responsibility to own wherever we are, but then to get back to that place of inner contentment. Because when we calm our comparing minds, when we breathe and calm anxiety or fear, and recognize that fear is there to teach us, it's a teacher, it's a friend, it's not there to harm us, we get to a place of inner stillness where we do find clarity of mind and peace in the heart. Now let me tell you something. The Dalai Lama defines mind because his book, Art of Happiness, talks about happiness as a state of mind. But the mind he's talking about comes from the Tibetan word sem, meaning intellect and feeling, heart and mind. It's a connection, there's no separation. So when we talk about happiness or joy being a state of mind, it's the condition of our heart and mind and how they're working together. So if we think about bringing peace to ourselves, peace especially in times of cyclones and tornadoes and difficulties when things seem broken all around us, it's about truly getting to that place, thinking of a raging river or a river getting surging really fast. That river will get to its destination. The water will get to its destination, right? It's going fast, but look what it's going to miss on the way. And if we could stop that water, beginning and end, if we could stop the water for just a minute, everything would settle and we could see the bottom of that river, maybe, or at least the piece of the water. And that's what we want to do with our minds. We want to stop the thinking about the sensory pleasures or objects or things we need, the past or the future, the problems, and just come to the place of peace. I just want you to imagine right now that water, that peaceful water, flowing through you, bringing peace to every cell of your being. The beautiful 13th century mystic Rumi says, people want you to be happy. People want you to be happy. Stop serving them your pain. And I don't mean we can't find people to talk about with our pain, because we have to do that if we're going to be open and available to good and joy and love. But we have to stop serving it to everybody we meet, everywhere we are. That story that goes round and round and round. He said, people want you to be happy. Stop serving them your pain. And he goes on to say in his next line, if you could untie your wings, if you could untie your wings and free yourself of jealousy, comparing, anxiety, if you could free yourself of that and untie your wings, you and everyone around you would fly up like doves. Wow, how good that is. So this card today, and thank you, Sue, for our beautiful cards. Our last one, the beautiful color purple, comes from our teacher, Ernest Holmes. It says, from the fullness of a joyful heart, the mouth should speak. What a good lesson for this coming week. From the fullness of a joyful heart, the mouth should speak. How many of you have your cards? Okay, if you need a card, will you raise your hand, please? Ooh, okay, you know what? We're going to get cards on the way out. That's Rob, I love you and appreciate you. I don't want to waste your energy right now to be running around crazy. So calmness, peace, remember, beautiful. So pick your card up on your way out because I want this put in a very, very safe and special place. From the peace in your heart, from the fullness of a joyful heart, the mouth should speak. Jesus, the master teacher, so beautiful, said, "This world has tribulations," just what we were talking about, the sorrows and the joys. "But behold, I have overcome the world." I do not believe that means I've disassociated, detached myself from the world. Rather, I have a way bigger picture of life. I have a way bigger picture. Even the night before he died, his execution, not his execution, but his, whatever that thing is. The night before that, he was speaking to his disciples, and he said, "I command you this. I want to leave you with all the love I received from the Father. I want you to share that love with me also. So I just command you, my 2 commandments, love God with all your heart, but love one another." We have to love one another. And with that, "I will leave you my joy, and you will be filled with joy." He boiled it down to be that simple. Love one another. Love God. Love one another. So Roger Teal, Reverend Dr. Roger Teal, is the author of this beautiful book, this Life is Joy, that we've been using for our Adventure in Spirit program. And he has an amazing center in Mile High, Colorado, and very large, I think 10,000 congregants, probably the largest center in our movement. But he and his ministers, and he has a lot of ministers at his center, put a video on their website about how to step into this coming week. And it's about 2 minutes long, and I want to close today with watching this video. But I want you to prepare yourself right now by just feeling that wellspring of joy that can never go away, that wellspring of joy within us that actually is an usher for goodness and love and understanding to come into our life.
Your voice and your vote count.
Your voice is strong.
Your voice is love.
Love.
Am I doing it right?
Sometimes on our spiritual path, we can become disenchanted.
Disenchanted.
And choose not to participate in the politics of our time.
One way to inspire your participation
Is to have ministers,
Ministers,
Ministers.
And then some more ministers.
reverends,
doctors.
Almost too many ministers.
And one random guy.
Let's remember that one of the ways we vote is the way we are being.
Are you leaning out?
Or are you leaning in?
Is there too much drama?
Too much noise.
Too much divisiveness.
Do you wish you were Canadian?
I'm a Canadian, and I want to encourage you to vote. Your election of your president is more impactful on my country than the election of our own prime minister.
Remember that just as
Every vote counts.
In the outcome of an election.
Every opinion we cast into the debate
has a ripple effect.
Ripple effect.
Ripple effect.
If we lob anger, bitterness, and hatred towards others,
We create strife and stress.
On Facebook.
If we respond with respect and open-mindedness,
we contribute to a public discussion that is more thoughtful and clear.
Treat others as you would have them treat you.
And speak to others as you would have them speak to you.
I prefer to be spoken to in a whisper.
There doesn't have to be animosity, spite, bitterness, and revenge.
if we disagree with each other.
There can be consideration and respect that opens the collective thought to what is doable.
And to what serves the collective good.
Participate
in the public debate with love,
Honor and with respect.
And consideration.
It makes all the difference.
As we work to achieve oneness,
oneness.
we must engage with one another.
As a community and as a nation.
This vote is about the world itself.
As members of an awakening community and nation,
It's our time.
It's our time to lean in with open eyes
And open hearts.
To the messy, chaotic,
Yet important work of democracy.
Your engagement and your vote matter more now than ever.
this is the time that calls each of us to express the truth of our oneness.
Vote.
So in closing, I just want to invite each of us to do our part. To radiate, just say after me, I radiate the joy within me. I do my part. I teach by example. I listen deeply. And I share and speak from the fullness of a joyful heart. I believe you. Oh, I'm just saying that to you. I'm sorry. But thank you if you believe me too. That's good. I believe you. I trust you. I love you. I bless you. And I believe that together we make an awakened world. Let your light shine.